Live from Citizen TV, this is Friday Night with Lillian Mooney.
Good evening and many thanks for being with us. Again, happy holidays. I trust you're having a good time wherever you're watching us from. And if you're in the rural areas, a lot of you might be getting into a little bit of farming, and tonight we'll be telling you about electric farm tractors. They're actually on trial in Rwanda, and we want to get to take a look at what that's all about. Emmanuel.
Yes, good evening everyone. My name is Emmanuel Ndungu. It's a pleasure to be with you here tonight. I'll be taking you through the sports news a little bit later. AFCON is in the second round of the group stages at the moment, so we'll give you some more updates on that and some inspiring stories as well.
Let's take a look at stories making headlines tonight.
As a country, we are staring at a massive legal crisis where the 2027 election could be nullified before it even begins.
Referendum question. Mudavadi warns of 2027 polls nullification over non-compliance with laws review. Man stabbed to death. A 17-year-old girl arrested for allegedly stabbing boyfriend's uncle in Nairobi's Uhuru estate. Rwanda's electric tractors, e-tractors for farming. Electric tractors set to transform farming in Rwanda. Famine and health maternal challenges. In our special features, we tell you about starvation and the tragedy of mothers during childbirth. Good evening and thanks for joining us. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Hula Nzale. Tonight, Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi has set the stage for a debate on the constitutionality of the 2027 election, proposing a referendum as the cure. Mudavadi says 2027 is the country's referendum moment to cure key outstanding issues, including the review of boundaries as required by the Constitution and the fate of partially nullified census results, Stimulator reports.
In what began as a simple statement on the referendum, Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi has let the cat out of the bag and sounded an alarm that the country is swimming in unprecedented waters deep inside a constitutional crisis. In a statement, President William Ruto's right-hand man in the cabinet says as a country, we are staring at a massive legal crisis where the 2027 general election could be nullified before it even begins.
I must speak the truth about a looming constitutional storm. As a country, we are staring at a massive legal crisis where the 2027 election could be nullified before it even begins.
Mudavadi says the Constitution demands boundaries review every 8 to 12 years, with the deadline being March 6, 2024. Mudavadi says we are now in a period of constitutional non-compliance. According to the Prime Cabinet Secretary, IEBC cannot now wake up and hold a boundaries review since there is no valid national census after the courts nullified the 2019 census in 3 counties of Mandera, Wajir and Garissa, ordering fresh census by January 2026. All this, Mudavadi says, puts the August 2027 general election in limbo, adding that mixing 2019 data with 2026 data is a legal impossibility. There will be no valid population data, therefore it means that no valid boundaries, and subsequently no valid boundaries mean no valid election.
Without a constitutional amendment, the IBC cannot give high-growth areas the representation they deserve, and our protected constituencies face extinction.
Mudavadi's latest warning has caught the executive and election players off guard, with ongoing litigation seeking to hold all future elections, including the 2027 general election, on the basis that the proceeding with outdated boundaries deprives citizens of their right to fair and equal representation. Mudavadi wants a referendum to be conducted along the 2027 general election to establish office of the Prime Minister, office of the official opposition, as well as resolve the 2/3 gender rule crisis. He further wants the NGCDF fully entrenched in the constitution and establishment of both Ward Development Fund and the Senate Oversight Fund. The Prime Cabinet Secretary says a referendum held alongside the 2027 election is not just a political choice but a legal necessity to harmonize laws, secure funding for constituencies and ensure the 2027 elections are grounded in constitution. Stephen Leto, Citizen TV.
Previous attempts to amend the constitution through a popular initiative leading to a referendum such as the Building Initiative and the Punguza Mzigo Initiative have all failed. Will the Mudavadi attempt succeed? The chairman of the National Assembly Constitutional Implementation Oversight Committee, Karoli Omondi, says the latest push for constitutional referendum has legal issues that will require courts to interpret. Seth Olale with the latest reactions on the constitution amendment debate.
Musalia Mudavadi's latest push for constitutional amendment through a popular initiative leading to a referendum is already drawing reaction across the political divide. Leaders agreed to the proposed timing.
The framework is there, it can be done, the election, but it involves a lot of processes, including civic education, and then formulating the proper question for processing by IBC.
We all agree, the issues that were raised in the NADCO report. Most of them, of course, are referendum questions. Do we really need to do a referendum and then we do a general election separately? No.
But according to the chairman of the National Assembly Constitutional Implementation Oversight Committee, Karoli Omondi, a section of the proposed issues, including creation of office of the leader of opposition, are unconstitutional.
In a pure presidential system, you cannot have a leader of opposition in the House. Neither can you have a leader of opposition within the executive under our constitutional order. Neither can it be one amorphous office that is just hanging neither in the executive nor within the parliamentary system.
Although still rightly time-bound, initiating a popular initiative leading to a constitutional referendum is a rigorous process that will require scrutiny at every stage.
A popular initiative is any proposal which could just be a proposal or a draft bill must be supported by 1 million people. And then after the 1 million people, you go to IEBC for verification. And then IEBC will conduct a referendum on those issues. If you go to a referendum, then at least 20% of the registered voters in at least half of the counties must turn out and vote. And then it is passed by simple majority. Unlike the situation in Parliament where it has to be 2/3 majority. But you also go through the county assemblies, which also pass it by simple majority.
Previous attempts to amend the constitution through a popular initiative leading to a referendum, such as the Building Bridges Initiative, the Punguza Mizigo Initiative, all failed to materialize. BBI because of the process, and the latter due to failure to meet the threshold of approval by county assemblies. Will the latest attempt succeed? Seth Olale, Citizen TV.
Police in Buruburu have launched investigations into a fatal stabbing incident that occurred in Uhuru Estate, Buruburu, leaving a 41-year-old man dead. The victim, identified as Collins Onyango, reportedly went to the residence of a 17-year-old girl who is the prime suspect in the case in an effort to mediate a dispute between her and his nephew, with whom she was in a relationship. However, the situation is said to have escalated, with the suspect allegedly drawing a knife and stabbing Onyango in the neck. Citizen TV's Ben Kirui with the details.
Grief and anguish engulfed Uhuru Estate in Buruburu on Friday as residents woke up to a tragic incident in which a 41-year-old man was fatally stabbed, allegedly by a 17-year-old girl. The deceased, identified as Collins Onyango, is reported to have visited the home of his nephew Paul Olo, where the suspect Belinda Bahati Acheng was also residing. Onyango had reportedly gone there in an attempt to mediate and resolve a dispute between the young couple.
The deceased is my beloved husband. Tumechelewa jana mpaka saa 7 usiku. So he left me to tell me I could buy things. Arudi kunichukua mali nilikuwa we are somewhere celebrating the Christmas day. Sikujua. He was telling me goodbye.
However, the situation is said to have escalated during the confrontation, with the teenage girl allegedly drawing a kitchen knife and stabbing Onyango in the neck.
Furugu ilianza jana ambapo hata alivuta jamaa hapa chini, akamvuta akamwelekeza mpaka huko, akaumia mpaka mgongo. Sasa leo kulingana vile nasikia ni kama mjomba wake huyo kijana ule boyfriend yake ndio alikuwa anakuja kwa hii nyumba kuchukua vitu za Angolia za kijana. Walianzania pale.
He was rushed to Jamaa Mission Hospital in Buruburu, where he was pronounced dead on arrival.
Nilikuwa naenda kanisani na nikamsalimia, na within hata ikumaliza dakika 2 akarudi na nyuma, na ndio nikasikia hizo fracas. Kurudi nikapata amedugwa kisu, ameanguka kwa mtaro.
Police had to intervene to rescue the suspect from irate members of the public who had attempted to attack her and placed her in custody. Officers later processed the scene and recovered a knife believed to have been used in the fatal stabbing. Investigations have since been launched to establish the exact circumstances surrounding the killing.
Sina strength ya kuongea zaidi hapa. Collins hakuwa na mtu wa kusumbua watu. He was a peaceful man. Hata watu yuko wanamjua. So nashindwa. Mbona huyu alimwattack? What was the reason?
The body of the deceased has been transferred to the Mama Lucy Kibaki Hospital mortuary, where it is being preserved pending a post-mortem examination. Ben Kirui, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
And a family in Mwihoko, Kiambu County, is demanding justice after their son died mysteriously moments before he was spotted with a woman at an entertainment joint on Ngong Road in Nairobi. According to Derek Omanga's family, the woman he was with the day he disappeared could have leads on what transpired before he met his untimely death. Franklin Wala reports.
At the home of Derek Omanga in Mwihoko, family and friends gather to console each other as they mourn the sudden death of a firstborn son, whose untimely demise has dealt the family a big blow. The family recounts how a jovial Derek left the home on the 5th of December, carrying a laptop bag and in high spirits, as he proceeded to work at an air and travel agency in Karen. That was the last time they saw the 25-year-old. When the day ended, Derek did not return home. This got his parents worried. They filed a missing person report at Kasarani police station. Investigation revealed Derek was spotted in the company of a woman at an entertainment joint along Ngong Road. He left the joint with the woman and an identified man before his phone was switched off within Thome in Kasarani. A day later, his body was picked from Kasarani and booked at the city mortuary as a suspected accident incident.
The same police station Kasarani ilikuwa inatutanganya, inatuambia hakuna accident, hakuna mtu amekamatwa kama huyo amepelekwa huko. It's the same police station wamepeleka mwili mortuary.
This family says the unknown woman who was last seen with Derek also transferred a sum of 1,600 from the deceased M-Pesa.
The same msichana ndio amejitumia pesa ya mtoto yangu. Hiyo msichana ile kitu alituambia, walitoka na Derek na hiyo mwanaume ambaye hataki kutaja jina yake, wakachukua ufa kutoka huko Ngong Road, wakakuja mpaka hapa mahali inaitwa Alikafon. Eti msichana akasensi tencha, akatoka hapo, akawacha mtoto yangu na hiyo mtu siturencha hapo.
Even though the family had filed a missing person report at Kasarani police station, police never revealed to them that they had picked the body of their kin and booked it at the city mortuary. They now want answers on the inconsistencies regarding the case.
Mtoto wangu aliwawa, akaletwa akatupwa kwa parapara, isijulikana kama aliwawa iwe ni accident. because mtoto yangu amegongwa kichwa na kifaa butu, akagongwa singo, akagongwa na mbavu. Mwili ingine yote iko mzuri kabisa.
Detectives also arrested the alleged woman, grilled her and released her without giving further answers to the family.
Wale wanaweza kuwa na njia ya kunisaidia hii kesi, waingilie nipate haki ya mtoto yangu.
Franklin Wala, Citizen TV.
It is now emerging that the driver of the Probox involved in a tragic road crash in Kericho was in pursuit of suspected thieves who had broken into a friend's shop in Kedowa. Relatives of the deceased and survivors of the crash say the driver had called one of the victims to inform him of a break-in at his shop. Brenda Wanga reports on the aftermath of that crash that left a family counting losses.
At Cheribo Village, Kedowa, Kericho County, relatives and friends thronged the home of the late Dominic, one of the fatalities in Thursday's crash that claimed the lives of 4 other people. This family cut short its Christmas celebrations. They had planned to hold a big family gathering on Christmas Day, but on the eve of the day, a break-in at Dominic's shop turned the celebrations into sorrow.
Hawa vijana wawili walikuwa nyumbani, walilala mpaka saa 6 ya usiku. Akapigiwa simu kwamba Dominic ako na kioski yake ya kinyozi hapa Kedawa. Akapigiwa simu kwamba kuna watu wanashambulia kioski yake. Akaelezwa aenda haraka, akaenda mpaka kule, akakutana na watu wenye walikuwa pale.
Dominic quickly woke up his cousin, a farmhand and a few other friends and got into the late Philip Kirui's Probox. Their mission, to try and get the suspected robbers and recover Dominic's property. The Probox, which is said to have been speeding at the time of the accident, crashed into a lorry as it tried to overtake another vehicle.
Alafu baada ya kujadiliana wakapanda Probox. Akakuwa watu 7. Kukuja kupita Kedawa Police Station hapo, Kedawa Girls hapo gate, ndio akapata accident wakielekea juu. Na wameumia kabisa. Kijana Ezra anasoma Kiptawit Secondary School boys.
Dominic did not survive the accident and neither did 4 other people, including the driver. His nephew Ezra Kipkoech, a Form 3 student, suffered a broken hand and is receiving treatment in Eldoret. The deceased persons suffered fatal head and chest injuries, according to post-mortem exams carried out today.
It was a high-impact trauma and most likely involving a vehicle at a high speed, and our condolences to the family.
The families have begun planning for their funerals. Those who died hailed from the same locality. Their neighbors say they were key members of the society.
Kwa yote huyo kijana mwenye tunampoteza alikuwa mtoto mzuri. The last time tukiwa nao ilikuwa juzi tukiongea na 24. He was a nice guy. He had his own business. But kwa bahati mbaya tumempoteza na alikuwa na familia yake.
Their deaths add to the growing number of deaths on Kenyan roads this festive period. The National Transport and Safety Authority has indicated that by late December this year, a total of 4,458 people had died in road accidents, an increase from 4,311 the same period last year. Brenda Wanga, Citizen TV.
The United States has carried out an airstrike against Islamic State-linked fighters in northwest Nigeria in an operation coordinated with the Nigerian government. U.S. President Donald Trump said the strike targeted ISIL militants who he claims have been carrying out brutal attacks on Christian communities in the region. The U.S. military's Africa Command confirmed the strike took place in Sokoto State and said several fighters were killed. On his part, Nigerian Foreign Minister Yusuf Maitama Togar says the operation was a joint effort requested by Nigeria and based on intelligence provided by Nigerian authorities. The strike follows earlier warnings by President Trump that Christianity faces what he called an existential threat in Nigeria. Rarely do journalists get to tell the story of what goes on behind the scenes. In this recap of events that defined his coverage this year, Melita Oletenges looks at key stories that defined his storytelling and what it looks like behind the scenes. Take a look.
From speculation of who is fooling whom between DCI detectives and Juja MP, United Nations maintains Kuri is now appearing to break ranks with the government.
On the 15th of October, I was getting ready for work, and it seemed like a normal day until I got a phone call from my editor, Yusuf Lakicha. And his tone was with urgency.
Tenges, uko wapi?
It meant all hands on deck. And without thinking much, I jumped out of the house and I was headed to work. A few minutes later, I was in the newsroom and I could feel the atmosphere was heavy already based on the activities, people moving up and down, and all editors were there, reporters coming in, running fast. I started scrolling on my phone and I could realize there were very many cryptic messages from Raila Odinga's close aides hinting at the unthinkable. And at this point, it dawned on me that this is going to be a big news day. Few minutes later, we were now at the barrier that opens up to Kirarapon and the stretch that leads to Raila Odinga's home. And what I saw there, it was as if the country had stopped everything they were doing and headed in one direction. It was like the proverbial exodus, some walking, some driving, and they were just walking towards Raila Odinga's home. And then you come to that stretch where now you can see the home just maybe say 200 meters yonder. And you can see outside the gate, there were so many people.
Mic check, 1, 2, mic check, 1, 2.
Hundreds of people had already flocked the gate. And it was still very early. It was barely 1 hour since news went round. The scene that greeted us was even more overwhelming. The yard was full to the brim. And here were people who were carrying twigs, some were crying, chanting, people really visibly distraught by just receiving the news of Raila Odinga's passing.
As curtains fall on one of Kenya's most enigmatic leaders of all time.
As much as you're supposed to act professionally, it also moves you. Because I remember at that point, I got also emotional because I also covered Raila Odinga for at least 9 years of my career. Once in a one-on-one interview. And my team members as well had covered him. And you could see in our faces, we were also very sad. But then the weight of the assignment was upon us, and we knew that we are covering history as it unfolds. And so we had to be on top of our game. We came to our senses, and we discussed how we are going to produce this. And we get to work.
Many journalists who are there, we don't know what to do. The people are wailing, we may record footage mingi. I decided, let me step outside the compound where we were. Outside the compound where we were is the parking yard for the former Prime Minister. That is now the time I managed to get a shot of Mama Ida mourning with I remember she was walking with Governor Gladys Wanga. I caught her shot. I think it was, I can say I'm the only camera person who managed to get that shot of her coming from that crowd, going to the room. That position also gave me humble time to get some interviews, some reactions. Many leaders mourn and send their messages.
I could not believe it that I was filming the last history, or which has come to pause. I remember taking some shots there with my colleague Tenges, and I told him, hey, bro, we are taking this. We'll remember these photos in future. Kwamba leo ni mzee, ilikuwa siku yake ya mwisho. And I could not imagine it, that when I started filming Baba, that was way back 2012, different rallies, different mandamanos. I could not believe it, that was the last time. Maybe I'll say it, history was coming to pause. So we left that place in disbelief.
I don't believe this. This is not happening, man. Without Baba, we are not able, Bana. Tafadhali.
Few young men got a bit rowdy. Some started climbing trees, trying to harvest avocados that were ripe in the compound. We had another section of young people trying to access Raila Odinga's home. Something out of the ordinary happened. Mama Ida Odinga came out. She was grieving the death of her husband, but she had to come out to speak to these young people, just to tell them, please, let's mourn respectfully. And as much as she was trying to speak to them, some of them were quite a bit unreceptive, maybe because of the flare-up of emotions, but eventually they got to rest and calm down. We would now see family, friends, relatives, politicians streaming into Raila Odinga's compound and family home to mourn with the family, pass their messages of condolences, and we would also be seeing this online as well from Kenyans from all walks of life, really.
As calm as it may appear today on the 16th of October, Parliament Road and Parliament buildings was a no-go zone, the epicenter of chaos. Thousands of mourners had gathered here to view Raila Odinga's body lie in state. Tempers flared when they learned that the body had stalled at JKIA. They even threatened to force their way in, climbing atop the gate. It was impossible to bring Raila's body here.
I remember at some point the member of parliament for Embakasi East, Babu Owino, the senator for Nairobi, Edwin Sifuna, are the ones who had to intervene because these were young people and seemingly they could only listen to them because other leaders were there. I could see Senator for Kisumu, Tom Ojenda, I could see Otiende Amolo, the member of parliament for Arieda, as well as Senator for Narok, Ledama Olekina. And shortly after, these leaders are the ones who said that, you know, after speaking to the Burial Preparations Committee, then it has been decided that the event of the body of Raila Odinga's lying in state won't happen again in Parliament. So it had to be transferred to Kasarani. But no, there was no movement whatsoever. They still pitched camp there because they weren't really believing that the body of Raila Odinga will be taken to Kasarani. And so they thought this is a scapegoat. This is a diversionary tactic to make us move out of parliament. And so they continued to stay there, hoping that the body will be brought there. The military was now putting down the setup. Everything was being put down. The walkway that was set up, the platform, the red platform that was also set up where the body would have been placed was removed. And it was now clear that the lying in state ceremony was not going to happen. But outside, the youth were not having it. And the leaders tried as much as possible. And so we remained holed up in Parliament for the rest of the day because we could not get out. It was understandably so because of just how much Kenyans came out in large numbers to mourn Raila Odinga. Operatives that were hooded and moving around in Subaru vehicles, and they were being sent to volatile areas, considered volatile areas in the thick of the protests. And everywhere they go, there were gunshots and reported deaths few moments afterwards. But what stood out for me as I was covering this particular story was how much citizen journalism contributes to journalism as it is. It is very difficult to hide anymore. Even when you think you are deep in informal settlements, there are people who are recording. There are people who will get you in the act. And this was evident through the numerous videos that were being sent to the newsroom. Look, this is Kitengela. Look, this is Dagoretti. Look, this is Uthiru. And the collage of videos we would have there just showed how much Kenyans are contributing to accountability, even from our security officers. And the questions that were being raised then is, who are these people? Which squad is this? We were told there are no more squads operating like this. And you could hear the voices of the people who are recording, the trembling voices, the fear in their voices. But above all, the fact that they managed to record these people in the act is a huge contribution and a milestone to citizen journalism. It is, however, really sad that to date we've had deaths recorded from that particular period, but not much progress in terms of apprehending the people who committed the killings, apprehending the people who maimed and injured victims of the protests. That is the gap that I think as a journalist still needs to be addressed, because they cannot just walk scot-free.
The final day for the campaigns for the Malava constituency by-election.
We were deployed, I think 4 days to the by-election date to cover the last campaigns that were happening in the constituency. And once you reached there, you could tell that the tension between UDA and DAPK camps was really palpable. And in the undertones, you could hear from residents that this group was scheming against this one, and this one was scheming against this other group. On the night before the election, around 3 a.m., my phone was ringing, and the person on the other end just said, "Tumevamiwa, tumevamiwa, citizen, mko wapi? Kujeni haraka, kujeni haraka." He told me Seth Panyako pamoja na mke wake and his aides had been attacked at a hotel in Kaburengu. It was called the Downhill Hotel. They were saying that goons just came in out of nowhere, started shattering the windows of the vehicles, throwing stones, attacking the staff who worked there with machetes and stones, and they were also carrying sticks. That was the first attack. So when the polling stations opened at 6 a.m., we called security apparatus, and they confirmed the incident, saying that yes, indeed, we've received reports that Seth Panyako was attacked, and we've opened investigations, We are trying to ascertain the people who are involved in these heinous attacks. At our 4th station, we get another call. And this time, it was one of my news sources from Malava town. Called me and told me, have you heard news that a vehicle has been torched in Butali ward? The two opposing camps met each other along a certain road, and then immediately they went for each other's jugular.
Na nyuma yangu unaona ni gari lililochomwa karibu lisali moja lililopita hapa baada ya machafuko kushuhudiwa.
It created voter apathy in that region because the people who are getting themselves ready to go and vote could hardly go and vote because they felt fear, they felt intimidation, regardless of the camp they were going to cast their vote for. By and large, those were the events that highlighted my year 2025 through my eyes as a journalist.
Great narration there by Melita, and just how deeply involved journalists get into the work they put out here on air. Very interesting feature there by Melita Oletenges. We're taking a break. We're back with more. Let's take a look at what's in 2025, the education, health, science, and environment sectors have struggled, leaving many hopes unfulfilled. Yet some of the stories we covered were truly heart-wrenching, especially at a time when the nation proudly claims it is on the path to first world status. Starvation and the tragic deaths of mothers during childbirth have sparked widespread grief and outrage. Emily Chebet now lifts the veil, revealing the human cost behind these events and showing how they tested the courage and integrity of the journalists who brought these stories to light.
Growing up in a remote village just a stone throw away from Mau Forest in Kuresoi, South Nakuru County, I never imagined that one day I will be a journalist. I went to a rural school where mother tongue was the only language we knew. The teachers would teach in English, Swahili, but Kalenjin was a must for emphasis even in class. So for me, journalism was almost an impossibility. My name is Emily Chebet, Education, Health, Science and Environment reporter with Citizen TV. And this is my storytelling story for 2025. Moments that stretched me physically and emotionally.
The time nilikuwa naamka asubuhi na prepare watu wanaenda shule. Narudi kwa nyumba, nafunga nyumba. Nakaa kwa nyumba the whole day.
Nape mtoto wangu masiwa kwa nini na mama yao kwa wapi?
Anasaidia Eunice na anawekewa simu loudspeaker aongee.
The ratio of doctor to the patient is about 1.5 per every 1,000.
Sasa sina chochote. Sioni maisha yamenichosha.
I have done hundreds of stories this year. Citizen TV in Nairobi, Marsabit County. I have walked along the corridors of various hospitals. I have told stories inside medical laboratories. I have been to schools, villages, and inside people's homes telling stories. The interesting bit about journalism is that you'll never know where the story could take you. Some days you'll be chasing stories. Others, stories would be chasing you. You cannot predict how your week, your month, or your year would look like. And every story that you do leaves you differently. Early in November, just a few weeks ago, Citizen TV's camera person David Kabiru and myself found ourselves in Marsabit County. We accompanied the Kenya Red Cross Society on a drought assessment mission. But as a storyteller, of course, I was eager to file stories. It was my first time in that side of the world. Ekalokon await. I have been to Turkana, so I had an idea of what awaited us, but I would later learn that every assignment has its own challenges.
Hi guys, so Kabiru decided that I'm going to look
The harsh climatic condition and the poor terrain tested our strengths and tires. The long and ending dry land was emotionally draining, but despite the challenges, it was an adventure. We got some fun moments, especially crossing Shalby Desert. I had only read about the desert in school. After long hours of travel, we got to the villages and I kept asking myself whether we are still in Kenya. We were almost 300 kilometers from Marsabit town in a place called Dukana. I was not prepared for the stories I would hear. Kenyans who have lost almost everything to drought. 70-year-old Bobo Sora is seated quietly inside his Manyata in Dukana, Marsabit County. His movement is restricted not just by old age, but the slow, crushing weight of drought, hunger and illness. A man who once walked across these vast plains with his livestock can no longer stand, can no longer help himself, and cannot see what the drought has done to the livelihood that vanished with the rain. The biting drought that ravaged this region in 2022 and 2023 took almost everything from him. Since then, his wife says life has never been the same. Mzee Bobo's health has continued to deteriorate, and now he has lost his sight completely.
I was grazing my 200 goats through this Dukana area. Now I am remaining with nothing. I can't see. I went to the dispensary. I was told it's high blood pressure. I don't have any help.
We kept asking ourselves whether the government knows that these people exist until we saw government infrastructure, schools and dispensaries. Devolution was meant to bring service closer to the people, but devolution is still a distance to these people. As a journalist, it's really heartbreaking to listen to people's stories, yet you know you cannot offer them any solution. But it is fulfilling that you give them a microphone, a voice, so that they can tell their stories to anyone who would be willing to listen. Children are staring at a crisis. Malnutrition is slowly creeping, and with the exit of the USAID, it will only get worse. No supplements at the dispensaries. Women, just like children, are bearing the brunt of the climate change, walking almost 20 kilometers in search of water. I was in their lives for just hours, but I could feel the weight they carry every single day. The government has been talking about construction of dams. There's one lying idle, meaning these people can actually get water. This would happen if their leaders, who we are told have relocated to Nairobi, could be a bit serious.
Ataingia helicopter, aende, amalize shughuli zake za campaign, arudi Nairobi. Ule mtu wa huko mwenye alimchagua hana ambulance ya kubeba mtu kutoka akigonjeka kutoka nyumbani kwenda hospitali. Hakuna hospitali, hakuna barabara. Our leaders wakishikana ni kufanya tu kazi yako. Hata kama the land is very vast, unashika pahali communities wako, cause hii ni pastoralists, ni watu wa kufuga, so wanatembea.
Getting stories was not easy. Language barrier and hostility from the community. We were almost attacked by locals while filming. A seemingly angry man with a knife approached us, questioning why we were taking pictures of his camels.
I saw a boda, a motorbike with two guys. So at first I thought, at least these guys have a means of transport and there is communication, because it's a very remote place. So I went, took the camera from Biwot, brought it back, removed the car. They were like, you see? So this is the photo that we took, and we have deleted it. It was like, no. Lazima munilipe 4,000. They were like, now I was angry because, first of all, there's no network. So you can't even send someone through mobile money. Two, they came from another place. Those animals were grazing there by themselves. But the moment they saw two cars, they knew there is money here.
This lady has so much to share. She is a good storyteller, but the language... The girl we got was also struggling. We faced similar challenge in a place called Saru. We were interviewing a local who had information on stalled dams, but at some point, we realized that the translator was saying his own things. We were there for 6 days. Every day had its unique challenge. BNBs huku. We spent one night with no electricity. In many occasions, we were off telephone network. As I interviewed families who are facing drought, I caught myself swallowing my own discomfort because their reality was far much harsher than my temporary presence. And the hardest part about this work is that you step into people's lives at their most vulnerable. You listen, you document, you feel, then you leave. You carry the burden with you.
It was a challenging moment. You just feel like you can just chuck money from your pocket and save the situation. But now even if you do that, it will be for that day. You can't pay for that person a monthly bill for food. So you just put in your mind, you're doing work. It's part of your job. But again, you're also human.
I have covered maternal and newborn stories, mothers dying while giving birth, hospitals accused of neglect. But for the first time, I handed over the microphone to 3 young fathers who have been left to raise their newborn babies after losing their wives to excessive bleeding after birth, the leading cause of maternal deaths in the country. The stories of these fathers shattered me. Eunice's story ends here, but it is the beginning of a bigger conversation. My cameraman for the day, Alfred Cheriot, and I were fighting back tears behind the cameras when Victor Ambula was narrating his story of loss. As we went on with the interview, the questions became too heavy and the answers were cutting deep. We could no longer hold it.
Kaniambia nitakuva jezi namba 25. 25th is the day the mother died.
Moyo wangu sugu sana. Hii kazi ni kubwa. Ama si Mungu wako, si yako tu.
In between the interviews was a loud silence. In that moment, I was not just a journalist. I was a mother, a sister, and an auntie. Every word from Victor, Tom, and Sammy, whom I met in his rural Nyandarua County, reminded me of my children, especially my young daughter.
Ndiona wife yangu hapa hivi ameanza kutani yellow. Eunice mama Lucy alika less than 1 hour. Ndio watu waambie ameniacha.
Siku ya kupiki mtoi unafanyaga hata shopping ya wife. Then kwa hii kesi yangu unapata hizi vitu zote unarudi nazo juu hakuna mtu anarudi home. Unaona? Wife anaenda mochari huko chini, mtoi yako huko baby unit. Wewe ndio unarudi home na hizi mzigo zako.
Samuel's father is at home alone. The wife, Samuel's mother, is in Nairobi to help raise a 2-week-old baby, at least for now. But I kept thinking, until when? I have carried their stories with me for months. Every day I am imagining the pain they are going through, the questions that their children are asking. And as I reflect on my year 2025, I'm talking about these men who walked into maternity wards full of hope, but walked out with their bundles of joy, but with grief that is unimaginable. And I saw not only statistics, I saw futures being rewritten, I saw families broken, and communities changed. And I keep asking myself, why are we still losing mothers in 2025? And Prof, why are we still losing mothers in 2025?
We do not have enough resources towards care of these women. Number 2, we do not have enough blood that is supposed to be available to transfuse these women after they have lost so much blood. Out of every 10 women that die because of excessive bleeding, 4 are lost because there was no blood. It's also a shame that we do not have enough trained, skilled workers within our hospitals to take care of our women.
Why 2025 has been a defining year for our institute. We had funding cuts that should have really affected how we do science, how we solve problems within our society that particularly affect health and in particular affect the underserved communities, that is women and young people.
25th is the day the mother died.
From Victor, Tom, and Sammy's stories, I have learned to do more than reporting. I promised to be part of the change that is needed, especially in the healthcare sector. It could be anyone that is in need of the ambulance, blood, a qualified healthcare worker, or even a good road to access emergency service. From the dry lands of Marsabit to hospital corridors and laboratory benches, I learned that stories don't end when the camera stops rolling. They follow you home. They sit with you. They reshape you. And as I end the year and step into a new one, I will continue carrying the burden of storytelling, giving a voice to the voiceless and throwing the mic to the people, because their stories matter. Happy 2026.
Emily Chebet, that is very well told. And away from Emily's year, have you ever wondered why electric farm tractors are still rare, even as electric cars and motorbikes become increasingly common? Well, in Rwanda, that question is being answered through trials of some of the world's first fully electric farming tractors. While the innovation promises to bring down farming costs and boost productivity, a major hurdle remains: developing a powerful battery that can keep the tractors running for up to 9 hours. Willy Lusige visited Rwanda and filed the following report.
From behind, you might easily mistake it for an ordinary farm tractor going about its work, but from the front, a completely different picture emerges. This is one of a few fully electric tractors in the world currently being developed in Rwanda, with farmers already using them at the trial stage. The entire diesel engine has been replaced by a massive heavy battery that powers the tractor.
The project itself is called Gentown Project, which entails e-tractors, electric mobility. Currently, we started with a trial. It was the diesel engine that was retrofitted to electrical. This one we are having is called MK1, that was built from the scratch as fully electric with the battery.
The tractor runs on this large battery, which is charged using electricity. Replacing it requires carefully handling and close monitoring. It is one of the largest batteries used to power an automobile.
One battery can plow around a half hectare. And once you are done, that's talking about the 3 to 4 hours. Once you are done plowing with one battery, then we drive back to the hub. That's where we swap.
However, changing the batteries, which are heavy, remains one of the major challenges.
So we remove the battery and then we swap the fully charged one. So the changing on the preparation and the swapping only takes almost 5 minutes. And then once you are done, the operator is ready to go to the field to plow.
Scientists are also exploring ways to recharge the tractor while operating far from the main electricity grid, a limitation that currently restricts use to only farms within close proximity of power lines.
One of the limitations, we haven't gone to the far areas. So far, we are servicing the people who are close by. With that issue of charging, of swapping, we are working on swapping mechanism first, where we'll be able to swap the battery on the field instead of going to the prehab. And then the second, we are thinking of improving the battery to last longer than 5 hours, so that you can be able to work for 9 hours straight with our tractors.
Farmers say the performance is satisfactory and hope the power system will be improved to enable cultivation of larger areas of land.
They don't have greenhouse gas emission. It means they are green, they are environmental friendly, they are helping us to conserve our environment. They are operator friendly. Before this job, I was also operating the diesel tractors. The maintenance cost, operational cost, the e-tractors do not need maintenance cost as diesel tractors. There is a big difference between because I've been in a diesel.
They are silent, but at the same time they are very powerful. These electric tractors are now transforming farming and agriculture here in Rwanda. Willy Lusige, Citizen TV, Bugesera District, Rwanda.
Very interesting. And Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen says the government has initiated a process of constructing the National Police and Kenya Defence Forces colleges in Kerio Valley to revamp security in the area. Speaking on Friday at Embobut in Gelgoe Marquette during the celebrations of Boxing Day with thousands of locals, Murkomen appreciated the community around Kerio Valley for accepting to work closely with the government to tame insecurity challenges. He also called on residents to join hands in protecting Embobut Forest as one of the water catchment areas in the country.
Sasa hapa tulitoa bunduki karibu 400. Huko Baringo, Tiatich na sehemu za Baringo wametoa 535. West Pokot wamefikia, hatujawafikia zaidi lakini wamefika 100. Tunasonga, nyinyi mtaona habari by mwezi wa 6 next year. Bunduki yenye itatoka Kerio Valley hata itashtua nyinyi kwa sababu hamkuwa mnajua bunduki iko kiasi hiyo. So tunasonga, tunaenda mahali inaitwa huko nini Pokot Central, tunaingia Kainuk, tunasukuma, tutaosha Kenya mpaka hii Kenya itakuwa ni Kenya yenye iko na maendeleo, sio mambo yenye bunduki inaweza kuishi. Na tunalete permanent training ground ya polisi.
Welcome back. Standard Media Group journalist and videographer Rashid Idi died after a short illness at a hospital in Nairobi. Colleagues from Citizen TV, KTN and NTV joined the bereaved family at Masjid Salam in Karanja, Kibra for prayers before the body was transported to his home in Malaba, Bungoma. Rashid had a career spanning over 2 decades, during which he served at Royal Media Services and later KTN. His colleagues described him as a diligent professional who was deeply passionate about his work. He has left behind a widow and 3 children.
I'm shocked beyond words, beyond understanding. Just one day, a very hard headache on him, and he's gone. Rashid is my loving husband. We have lived for more than 25 years. We have 3 beautiful children, and he has been a devoted husband, always spoiling me with whatever good that he has.
Rashid amekuwa mchapakazi. Wengi wanajua, mtu anajua kuishi na watu. Sijaona shida yote. Kwa kazi amekuwa mpaka juzi tulikuwa na yeye tarehe 23 akiwa pale job. Hata alitaka naingia tarehe 29 kwa new shift. So kwa hivyo kulingana na utendakazi, yeye ni mtu ambaye anajua kazi na anajua kuishi na watu.
The one who trained me. So when you get your teacher passing away, ni huzuni sana, ni huzuni kubwa, lakini yote ni Mwenyezi Mungu alimtupea na ni Mwenyezi Mungu amechukua. So letu sisi kama wana colleagues ni kumwombea roho yake ipumzike kwa amani. Mungu aweke roho yake mahali pema peponi, na tuombee family, watoto wake, jamii yake yote.
Welcome back to the programme. My name is Emmanuel Ndungo. Let's get into the sports news now. The last 2 Harambee Stars coaches, Engin Firat and Benny McCarthy, have been on a mission to scout good players with Kenyan origin from across the world. They've been successful in getting some good talents that Coach McCarthy says will be the backbone of the Harambee Stars in the future. One such player is UK-based Vincent Harper, who has been called up to the team twice. His biggest fan is his mother, Mercelin Harper. Mercelin takes us through Vincent's football journey, as told by Mike Akinyi.
Mercelin Harper moved to the United Kingdom when her son Vincent was only 2.5 years old. At 4 years, Vincent joined Ashton Football Club, then Bristol City until he turned 15 years when he was offered a full scholarship to join the academy. At 16 years, there were 2 professional contracts on offer from Bristol City and Shirehampton.
So because we live in Bristol, we found that it was much easier for us to operate from Bristol.
As a medical professional, she had to work shifts, which was not easy in order to support her young son's football journey.
I had to work some half shifts in order for me to go and pick him from school. And I have to drive him like 2 hours or 3 hours to Shirehampton, or drive 3 hours to take him to Exeter just for trainings.
School was also a big challenge because on some days he had to leave school early to attend the training sessions, come back late at night and still do homework, and then start off early the next day.
But what helped us with Vincent, he's a child that has been born very, very clever boy. And despite all these difficulties, he never gave us any difficult time.
Vincent Harper's first call-up to the Harambee Stars was in 2023 and then 2025. He has done well so far despite the challenges he has encountered in the team.
He left Kenya a long time ago. He's not a good Swahili, he can't speak Swahili very well. He understands, but he can't speak it very well. So he found it a bit difficult, relating with the Harambee Star guys. They were trying to speak to him in Swahili, yet, he would pick what they're telling him, but it was a bit of frustration to him.
He did not give up. Swahili is the language spoken at the national football team, and you have to learn it in order to fit in well. Vincent says his second call-up to the Harambee Stars was different from the first one.
It's a lot different to last time I was here. I think this time we like to play football more, passing it more rather than maybe going more direct. And I think that suits a lot of the players that we have here today.
Marceline says she goes to watch every match the son plays, whether at club level or at the national team level. Though he has dual citizenship, Vincent chose to play for Kenya, where off the pitch, he's also busy promoting the sport.
It's because he loves Kenya. He talks really good about Kenya. And despite not only football, he's been a professional footballer since he was 16 years old.
Siala Hospital in Kisumu County is a private facility which Vincent helped to build. It offers a lot of free medical camps for the community, all facilitated by Vincent.
And those medications that we use for medical camps or the treatments that are being done in the community, from community, those who cannot afford paying the hospital, that bill is normally being paid by Vincent. So he has amount of money that he donates to the hospital to support the hospital run.
Though he has a tight schedule in the United Kingdom, Vincent visits Kisumu County at least once a year. The only other time he visits during the season is when he gets a call-up to the national football team, the Harambee Stars. Vincent hopes that he will make it to the final squad that will play the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations to be hosted by Uganda, Tanzania and Kenya.
Yeah, it'll be massive. It'll be a big career achievement to play international, and especially for your country. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Vincent made another career move 5 months ago, joining Walsall FC, a team in the League 2 in England. Mike Okinyi for Citizen TV.
So that was a 10-man Egypt managing to hold on to their 1-0 win against South Africa a little bit earlier today. South Africa were not clinical enough in the final third, so they lost out on that occasion. But Zambia and Comoros are in the 90th minute at the moment, still 0-0 in that game over there. But my name's Emmanuel Ndungu. I was taking you through the sports news today.
Great. We are done for the day. My name is Lillian Mwili. It's been amazing as always. Our sign language interpreter tonight, Yula Nzale. On behalf of the team, many thanks for watching. Once again, happy holidays. Up next is 10 over 10 with Aziza and Gudaman. Enjoy.
Goodbye.